Thank you very much for being here again on a Friday afternoon. And I'm very excited that Brian Weakland has come up from Richmond to be here to talk with us. Obviously, Caroline, this is her dad, so thank you for supporting Caroline by being here. And we're very glad Caroline is with us because we get your dad. This is really important to me. Let the truth be known. No, not really. It had nothing to do with your application at all. So Brian is a civil rights attorney, an employment discrimination attorney from Richmond. You have all this information in front of you, so I won't read it word for word, but you do need to know and emphasize, underline, underscore, award-winning mystery author and playwright. Past year, he has become perhaps Virginia's top screenwriter, and I would cross out the word perhaps. I believe he is Virginia's top screenwriter, having won 12 national and international film festivals, including the Virginia Film Festival twice, New York Screenplay Contest, Hollywood Screenplay, American Screenplay Competition, Last Waltz of Vienna, which we would like to show here at Brown and Tucker, if we can arrange it. Caroline, you can help us set that up. Of course, I do need a copy of the video. If you can release it to us, that would be great to do. Was the best script of Europe in the European Independent Film Festival in Paris, and won the Best Drama Award at the prestigious Austin Film Festival, and that was just recently, wasn't it?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. You texted me, and you said, Virginia has done well in Austin, which I thought was really good. So, obviously, the man has a few things to share with you, so I'm going to turn this right over to him. Brian, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I am going to dim the lights because we have found that the video, we need to move the lights down. It's not to darken the room, but it's to help with the video.
Hi, everybody. Greetings from Richmond, the land of Edgar Allan Poe. And I'll just start off the talk. I want you to pay attention because I have some prizes here for you. And these come from the Poe Museum in Richmond, and if you get the answers correct, you may get a wonderful prize. Anyway, we're going to talk about movies today. And I know college students, that's the #1 thing on your mind, especially in the weekend, is movies. Well, maybe the second thing on your mind would be movies. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about myself first before we get much further, and I won't bore you with this. I graduated from Penn State in journalism and worked in a newspaper there for about 5 or 6 years. I was a reporter and editor, did police, politics, all that stuff, and figured I needed to specialize, so I went into law school. I went to Pitt Law School and graduated there, got a federal clerkship, and got into the courtroom and loved the courtroom and loved the dynamics of the courtroom. And so I languished in the law for a number of years, had my own practice, represented on the good side civil rights cases and employment discrimination cases, and I know what you all are going through in the next few years trying to get a job and trying to keep a job. So hopefully you'll be successful there. One of the things I'm going to talk about today is the job that is probably the most risky and probably the least success of any job in the country, and that is screenwriting. It's a wonderful thing if you can nail it and you get a good script. The doors will open for you and you'll have a wonderful life in Hollywood, and you'll do what I did this week. I was actually in Los Angeles during this week talking to managers and so forth, and went to a rental car agency, and I told them I was a screenwriter, and they upgraded me to a Mercedes convertible. So that was good. They didn't know that I hadn't produced anything, but I told them I was a screenwriter. They said, fine, you can have the Mercedes. Anyway, we're going to talk about screenwriting today. And I'll start you off with this quote by Nora Ephron, who is a tremendous screenwriter. And she talks about movies as a culture. In generations past, in centuries past, art and music and other forms of expression were the key expression in that society. She says, in your world, movies are the key expression of art. And Nora said this a couple years ago, before we had Netflix and Hulu and a lot of the content that's on TV right now. And I'll just briefly, that's where the action is right now. It's not in films, it's on TV. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you have any ounce of, and I know you do, creative energy, and you want to write, think TV, because there's so many avenues in TV right now. Now, I am told that the purpose of this talk is to give you all career advice. Now, Dr. Plaskin said I didn't have to give you good career advice, but here's my career advice. Do not let your professional career get in the way of your creative expression. Now, God did not put you on the world to balance someone's accounts. He put you on the world to express yourself and to advance society. So what I'm telling you today is that even though I was an attorney for many years, I suppressed my creative urges. I was in the profession that probably had the least creativity. And so for a number of years, I didn't have any way to express myself. And I decided at one point that I had a book in me. So I wrote a murder mystery book. It was the first thing I've ever written on that scale. And it did pretty well. And someone said, well, you know, you sort of left it hanging at the end, so why don't you write a sequel? So I said, okay. So I wrote a sequel to that book, and I thought, you know, I should make this a trilogy. So I ended up writing 3 books, and they were all moderately successful, but no big thing. And someone said I should write a screenplay, and I thought, that's crazy, writing a screenplay. So what I did was, I got a book. It was called Screenwriting 434, and it was written by a guy named Dr. Lou Hunter from UCLA. And I read the book, and I tell you what, I'm not going to say this book changed my life, but it certainly turned me against screenwriting because it was so structured. Everything in screenwriting is so structured. In other words, you have to have, you have your protagonist. He has to have a flaw. You have to have an antagonist who is stronger than the protagonist, and the protagonist has to fight through it. And not only this story, you have to do certain things on certain pages. In other words, if a screenplay, for example, a typical screenplay is 100 pages long. On page 5, somebody has to state the theme of the movie, usually a minor character. And I'm telling you all this, I mean, you laugh at me because, come on in, that's okay. Because screenwriting is sort of creative engineering. And if you can figure out that formula, you can do very well. So anyway, my obligatory career advice is, if you want to do a screenplay, do it. Make time to do it. Make time to write. It can be wonderfully, it can be a wonderful, challenging experience. It can be very lucrative, or you can go, that didn't work. I'm going to go on to something else. Anyway, but try it. If you have a story in you, you should try it. And if you have a story in you, you can write perhaps one of the greatest movies of all time. Airplane. No kidding. This is on like the top 100 of AFI's lists of one of the greatest movies of all time. Also, Airplane is one of 3 movies that makes you feel good from the very opening scene to the very last scene. And Airplane, Singing in the Rain, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off are the 3 movies that are just totally fun. But anyway, I loved Airplane. And let me, I don't know if you know this scene. I'm going to play it for you. But you know the guy on the left is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his prime, and this is Joey. And Joey's visiting the cockpit when they used to allow people to visit the cockpit before 9/11.
We better get back now, Joey.
No, Joey can stay here for a while if you like.
Could I? Okay, if you don't get in the way.
Flight 209 into Denver radio. Climbing to cruise at 42,000. We'll report again over Lincoln. Over and out.
Wait a minute. I know you. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You play basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I'm sorry, son, but you must have me confused with someone else. My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm the co-pilot.
You are Kareem. I've seen you play. My dad's got season tickets.
I think you should go back to your seatbelt, Joey. Right, Clarence?
Oh, he's not bothering anyone. Let him stay here.
All right, but just remember, my name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
I think you're the greatest, but my dad says you don't work hard enough on defense. And he says that lots of times you don't even run on court. And that you don't really try, except during the playoffs.
The hell I don't. Listen to you. I've been hearing that crap ever since I was at UCLA. I'm out there busting my buns every night. Tell your old man to drag Waltman and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes.
just a wonderful little scene, but it's so natural. It really is natural. When you're watching this movie, everything just flows like butter. But this was written out, and there was somebody, some schmuck like me, who sat down at a typewriter and did this, wrote this out, without realizing how it would actually look like on the screen. Movies are a visual medium, and probably the most difficult thing about screenwriting is you have to think visually. In just about every other form of written expression, you don't think visually. And here, even though this is mostly dialogue here, the screenwriter has to have it in his own mind what's actually happening. So anyway, I love to just play that clip anyway. Okay, now I told you we had prizes here. And so this is where you all come in. I've got a refrigerator magnet here. It's a Edgar Allan Poe refrigerator magnet. And this you put on your refrigerator when you're ravenous. Okay? All right, okay. Anyway, so here's the question. Who can answer this question? Why is the Bible like a movie? Okay, we don't have all day. Nobody knows the answer? Okay, because in the beginning was the Word. Every movie starts with a script, and there is no movie except for Paranormal Activity that goes off without a script. And so there's always a demand in Hollywood and TV for a good script. So those of you who can write well, express yourself well, and stay within all the little laws of screenwriting can do very well. Now, every year in February, the Academy nominates movies for its best movie of the year. This year is kind of different because there are no real blockbusters happening. Last year was pretty good with Argo and Lincoln and Les Mis and all that. This year's kind of tough, but does anybody have, and this is not a prize question, does anybody have a idea of what might be one of the top 9 movies that could be listed this year? Yes? Gravity, good. You got that one already? Captain Phillips, good. Those are 2 solid ones. It's not easy, and I'll tell you why, because I've made a list here. These are the ones I think that are the top runners right now. 4 of them have not even been released yet. So it's hard to... American Hustle, which is a David O. Russell, Bradley Cooper movie. Saving Mr. Banks, which is a Tom Hanks movie with, he portrays Walt Disney trying to get the Mary Poppins book rights. The Book Thief, I think it might be opening today, actually. And that's a World War II movie. Wolf of Wall Street's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie that's going to be released sometime this month. But these are the movies that are sort of like in the running right now. Okay, how many people can tell me any screenwriters of any of these movies? Oh man, it's so embarrassing. That's why I never will live in Bel Air because of this. Okay? Well, here are some of them. And I'll tell you, Captain Phillips, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in Hollywood this week, one of the things I attended was a lecture by Billy Ray, who is the screenwriter for Captain Phillips, and he was great. He basically told all the screenwriters in attendance, said basically, I'm going to win the Academy Award, don't you guys even try, which sort of challenged me even more. Anyway.